I mean, listen, when it goes up to the trade deadline, I absolutely love it because it gets so interesting about like what players are going to be traded, what your team gets. I'm also very interested in like valuations around the NHL. So like essentially what is your player going to get and what does that player get? Like I remember when Tanner Jeannot got traded, I was like, man, Tampa Bay gave up so much for that player. But I mean, at the end of the day, Tampa Bay has had a lot of success. So I mean, who am I to judge? It's just kind of weird. I'm also very, very interested like why some players are valued so high. Suppose they just have very good pedigree in the playoffs. And the Calgary Flames do have a number of prospects that honestly they have a lot of pedigree to these players. You look at Coleman, you look at Kadri, like I'm telling you, man, teams are going to want players like this. Welcome back to Pixel Plus Hockey. If you could make sure to hit that subscribe button, it'd be so greatly appreciated. And thank you so much to those that are supporting me as well. It is very humbling. You know, it's kind of interesting, too, because from Coleman's perspective, we got information that, like, Coleman may be valued more than Nazem Kadri, which is kind of interesting, right? Like, I figure that Nazem Kadri is going to get more, because Nazem Kadri, he's won a cup. Like, he's been pretty darn good and consistent in his career. But here we have a very, very interesting quote. Here we go. Naz wants to be moved. Drager and CJ confirm Nazem Kadri is likely to be dealt from Calgary, close quote. But here's the thing, it's not just that, it's like from his end now too, he is essentially saying, okay, move me. For a while we heard that the Calgary Flames were interested in moving him, but it was more from the Calgary Flames perspective, which I completely understand. It makes a lot of logical sense to move away from Nazem Kadri. Like, he's 35, like in no way does Nazem Kadri fit the Calgary Flames rebuild at all in any way other than to be a centerman, and he's still pretty good, right? So he's 35 years old. That doesn't fit the rebuild. He is very well going to decline. So let's not forget he has 3 more years at $7 million after this. Will he be a useful player in those years? Sure, probably, but that's not for sure. He could be a 40-point player next year, and then you're kicking yourself that you didn't trade him this year. Part of sports that you just simply can't see the future, but you got to look at trends. You got to look at, okay, when do players decline? And I'm sorry, usually players like Nazem Kadri will decline usually after their mid-30s, so it makes a lot of sense for Calgary to move on as well, but now we know Nazem Kadri wants to as well. And here we have the full quote from Darren Drager. Very interesting stuff. Drager, there is a market I look at Colorado. I wouldn't say that Nazem Kadri is the first guy on their list to add at center in Colorado, but they're definitely interested. There's been a fair amount of interest, but if you're Craig Conroy, why wouldn't you wait to see where the dust settles? If you're in the market for a centerman, aren't you checking in on Vinny Trocheck from the New York Rangers first? Aren't you looking at Nashville Predators doing what they're doing with Ryan O'Reilly, my apologies, and some of the other centermen should be available here, close quote. So here's the thing. I think Ryan O'Reilly is probably better than Nazem Kadri on this list. I think I would take Kadri over Trocheck in my opinion. So the top of the center that might be available would be Ryan O'Reilly, but I think that Nazem Kadri would probably be second on the Colorado Avalanche's list. And I'm telling you right now, if you want to get Ryan O'Reilly out of Nashville, you are going to have to ante up for that for sure. Like, Ryan O'Reilly is pretty darn good. Now, he doesn't have any trade protection at all, but we heard from Nashville that they're acting as if he has trade protection, but when it comes to Nazem Kadri, they're still going to be able to get a lot, in my opinion. So now that we know that Colorado certainly seems to be interested in Nazem Kadri, what exactly could they get? Now let's take a look at Colorado's draft pick selections over the next 3 years. In 2026, they have all three of their first third rounds. They don't have any picks until the 4th round, which is kind of crazy. Although they are a competitive team, so honestly, their draft selections for being a competitive team aren't nearly as bad as I would think. The next first round selection that they have is in 2027. They have 1 first and 2 seconds before the 4th round, and then in 2028 they have 1 first round pick there, and then they have their 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, and 7th pick available. So for me, in my opinion, if you target the Colorado Avalanche, I would be targeting that 1st and 2nd round selection in 2027. Okay, that's the first thing that I would go to. It's unfortunate that they don't have any 2026 first round selections to give you, but it is what it is. When you're looking at possible young players that could solve, well, not solve the position, that could fill the hole that Nazem Kadri left, you could look at a Gavin Brindley, something like that. I mean, he's a younger center. I don't really necessarily think he's that high end, at least right now, but he is very young, only 21 years old, a smaller center, selected in the second round. Something like a package like that might be a little bit more realistic. When we look at the package that Colorado could actually give for Nazem Kadri, it makes me pause just a little bit, because I'm thinking to myself, if you were to make a trade, I would probably want to go for a top prospect, like a legitimate top prospect. Rather than getting a first and a second and Brindley, I would prefer to trade with the Montreal Canadiens and be able to pluck one of their good prospects away from them. However three it is, it could be David Reinbacher, it could be Zarovsky, or it could be Hage. Preferably Hage for me, or something like that. I'm not that they would do that, I'm just saying that like that might make a lot more logical sense, because as I've said before, I think that Calgary needs game-breaking forwards. For example, Michael Hage, I think that he is really good. Like, I think Montreal has a good one there. So if you could pluck him away from Montreal and give them Nazem Kadri, I would definitely think hard about that. Now, I don't know if Montreal is going to do that. To be fair to Montreal's management, they have just been excellent at, like, really being smart. Like, they've been drafting well. They've been drafting well in the second round as well. That's how they, let's not forget, that's how they got Zarovsky. So I'm not really sure if they would do that. But if you can pluck any one of those players, even if you can get Reinbacher, who has had a decent season in the American Hockey League for the Laval Rocket, that would be pretty good as well. I need, for me, from my perspective, I want the Calgary Flames to target game-breaking forwards. I always say that. If they are able to get a game-breaking forward like a McKenna or a Ivor Steenberg in this draft, it would be game-changing for them. So you could really start building this roster out. I think that they need more players like that, which is why I've always said that, you know, they should get Robertson from Dallas. Not that that's going to be available. It's just they need more guys like that, because they just don't score enough. They're almost like too defensive, and I mean, honestly, man, you build down the middle of the ice as well. All in all, though, I will say that it's going to be a big mistake if the Calgary Flames do not move Nazem Kadri before the trade deadline. I really think that if they mess this up and they don't move him, they are going to regret it. They're going to regret it, and I don't even know if that's any debate, because I think that Nazem Kadri could decline. He could decline hard, especially as he goes into his age 36, 37, and 38 season, and you need to get ahead of it right now. He wants to move. The Calgary Flames want to move him. We are definitely building up to the deadline here that he is certainly going to be moved, and we are just waiting on it. It is exciting stuff. Anyways, guys, I'm going to leave this video here. If you can make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, I would greatly appreciate it, guys, and make sure to have a great day. Goodbye, guys.